After decades of avoiding disruptive change, the hotel industry may be completely transformed by technology. The rise of the completely new business models like Airbnb is already changing the way people choose to spend their accommodation budgets. In studio with me to discuss this change and how hotels should be adapting is Gillian Saunders. She's the global leader of hospitality and tourism at Grant Thornton. Gillian, thanks so much for your time. Just looking at the developments that are happening around the hotel industry, it has been said that millennials are predicted to overtake baby boomers as the main target market by 2017. What does that mean, and how is this likely to change the hotel industry?
Well, millennials are projected to be bigger spenders in hotels than the baby boomers by 2017. And what we think about millennials is they're totally digital savvy, they're digital natives, and they are looking for that interactive digital experience as part of the hotel experience as well. So they're going to expect hotels. For instance, one of our statistics out of our research is 46% I think of millennials will go back to a hotel that gives them a mobile check-in. Now, there's not many hotels doing mobile check-ins at all. Airlines have got there, but hotels are not even giving you the ability to check yourself in. You've still got to go to the desk and do it.
Yes. How are apps like TripAdvisory changing this landscape, though?
Well, they're really making inroads against the hotel brands. So in the past, the hotel brand was very important to give people comfort about the place they would stay at in a destination. With all the reviews on TripAdvisor now, people are getting comfort from the TripAdvisor reviews rather than the brand. So they're looking for the destination, they're looking for their price bracket, and then they might notice that the hotel has a brand, as opposed to saying, oh, I love staying in Marriott Comfort Inns, let's look for a Marriott Comfort Inn. So I think the brands have got new challenges to position themselves and be unique for their market segments and use technology to do that. Luckily they can. But otherwise, one quote we have in our report is that TripAdvisor is the only brand that will be there in the accommodation sector in the future. I think it's a bit far-fetched, but it's certainly a comment that makes sense. It resonates.
And technology now is also being used to give the hotel industry a more personalized feel. Tell us a bit about that.
I think that's what it should be. So I don't think many of them are there yet, but really and truly there's a huge amount of data that hotels can mine from either credit card information, pure guest history, using cell phones as a unique identifier, and they should be able to predict more what a guest wants in the hotel, whether it's the temperature of the room, what's stocked in their minibar, what type of pillows on their bed. If they're from China, maybe doing things in Chinese and Mandarin and telling them about the specials on Chinese food in the restaurant as they walk past, or other things to do with Muslim prayer times and where the Muslim room is if you're a Muslim guest. There's so much more, even just purpose of visit. Hotels have never really asked us, why are you staying?
Yes.
And with technology now, if you got really sophisticated, you could perhaps change the lighting in a room, you could get the maids to change the layout in a room, you can change the smells in a room so that when you're on vacation or when you're on a romantic honeymoon, the room is different to when you're on a sort of an invigorating knowledge-based conference.
Yes.
I mean, and the sort of potential is endless actually for doing things.
So tell us, how are hotels and businesses adapting to this digital age? What are some of the things that they are doing? I know you mentioned changing the smells, and if you're at a conference where you want to feel energized, they use these different smells and so forth. But how else are they using this information?
Well, I think what we're really saying is I'm not sure they are doing it yet. I think they're sort of behind the curve in terms of some of the other industries that have really been disrupted to some extent already, and whether it's transport, banking, they've really got into a little bit more of the data mining and mobile, even retail than hotels. But you can see the writings on the wall because some of the bigger hotel groups internationally are putting budget into this. Accor is one that's put 225 million euros into their digital budget for the next 2 years. Their deputy CEO is ex-Orange, and he was the head of innovation and strategy at Orange, which is a cell phone company. That is not your normal leader in the hotel industry. So the writing is on the wall, and we know other groups are getting out there. If you go into the app shops, you'll find most of the global groups have got an app. Not yet the South African groups, unfortunately. There's not much there in the app shops. The apps are quite limited to a little more than normal booking ability that you would get on a website, but I think there's going to be a lot more coming through. Check-in, personalization of your room choice. So airlines let us choose seats well in advance. Even the cinema and the theatre in South Africa, CompuTicket shows you where to choose your seet.
Yes, yes.
When you get to the hotel, they just tell you this is your room.
That's true.
You could have, before you got there, when you got off your plane, they could have let you choose. You could have seen the room layouts, which rooms are available, near the lift, far from the lift, low floor, high floor. Lots of little things that for some reason we haven't thought of. And the technology is there to do it. And now I think hotels are starting to say we've got to do this, because the digital millennials, the digital native millennials, are going to ask for it and expect it.
The rollout of this, in South Africa, as you said, we're still behind. What about the rest of the African continent? We are still very much a tourist destination. People want to come to the rest of Africa to see what we have to offer. Are they picking up on this type of disruptive technology?
Well, it's going to be interesting. The African continent is very underrepresented in hotel brands, any hotel brands. It's a lot of individual and independently owned properties. So I think it's a challenge for those guys to move into this type of arena. And you'll probably see a swing towards more branded properties in Africa. And then with the global brands, they'll bring in this sort of technology and ability. Some people say to me that won't Africa be even further behind the curve? Well, and then I go to M-Pesa in Kenya and I say sometimes we're ahead. We've leapfrogged. And so I think we may be able to leapfrog in the hotel industry on some of these things as well. The other reason being that new branded supply that will come into Africa, they've got a lot of chance for renovations, upgrades and new builds where you can start to build this in. Little things like sensor technology and what you can use in your hotels, and the wiring and everything you need. If you're putting new product in, you've got a bigger chance of being able to put that there.
Gillian, this sounds like a great technology, but what are some of the pitfalls of having this? Or is this all just positive throughout?
I think the pitfalls are that it's a little bit of a sort of an open field. Nobody quite knows what the systems and the procedures, what the apps are going to do. So there's going to be some failures. Some people are going to try things. I don't know, it's like the checkers trolleys that you've heard about. We're all wondering is that going to work or not going to work. And people are going to do similar things in hotels. So there'll be some failures, there'll be some successes. The big one that they'll have to manage carefully is protection of personal information. Obviously, we've got our own POPI Act here. And there is sort of a continuum. If you are going to expect and get personal service, you have to share more of your personal information and be willing to share it. Now, another trend is that they say the millennials are much more trusting of cyber space. I mean, I think they all share their lives on Facebook and Instagram already anyhow, so they don't mind. So they will share, and they'll share more to get better and personal and targeted service. But hotels must watch that data security part and manage that carefully and explain to customers why sharing with us and why you can trust your data shared with us allows us to then serve you better.
Gillian, thank you so much for that. That was very insightful. That was a very big thank you to Gillian Saunders. She's the Global Leader of Hospitality and Tourism at Grant Thornton.